Happy Tuesday. I hope you guys are having an amazing week so far. I am finally home. We got home like 2 a.m., I think Thursday morning. We got stuck on the runway with the United outage. That was really weird. But we're here now. That's all that matters, right? Like I'm back. Everything went okay for me to come back and nothing crazy happened. It was a little bit hard to leave. It's really beautiful over there, but I did miss being able to sit down and focus on all of the temple stuff that we're building, being able to make these videos for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the few pre-planned videos that I had. I was so excited to be able to talk to you guys about concept gods. Like I was so excited for that video. So I'm really happy that you guys loved it. If you have more questions, if you want to dive into deeper subjects like that, please use the questions form. I will comment the link again below because whenever I need a video idea, I go right to the questions form. This week, however, I had been talking with some of you guys online. I had been kind of seeing what the energy was doing, seeing what's coming up for everybody, and that has inspired this week's video. So let's get into it. This week, I want to make another video all about validation. And I know I've done validation videos before, but this one's going to be a little bit different. Okay, we're going to talk about the weird stuff this time. So often I have people come to me and we start chatting and we start connecting. And one of the things that I hear the most is, this might be weird, but this might sound weird, but I feel crazy. And I want to tell you guys, if you can say something to me that truly sounds batshit out of this world crazy that I haven't heard before, you win. You win a prize. I don't know what that prize is yet because very rarely does somebody say something to me that I have not heard before. And it's the things that are common that we don't talk about, the things that truly make us wonder, are we okay in the brain? Those are the things I want to talk about today. So there are so many things that make us wonder, are we okay in the brain? I know, I'm speaking from experience, okay? I often wonder, is everything okay up there? I don't think it is, but we're here anyway. But I want to talk about the most common things that I hear. I want to talk about the things that come up year after year after year. And it really does almost eat away at us, not in like a negative way, but in this like scratching sort of itch type way. Like we got to figure it out. We got to figure out what it is. We got to figure out what's calling us, what's pulling us, what that thing is. So that is the weird I want to talk about. I've written down a few different topics for this video, but I want to hit on the big one first. I want to hit on the one that inspired this entire video because it really is something that I hear consistently. It's something that doesn't go away, and it really is kind of like an itch that we just can't scratch. I've been referring to it as the calling or the longing or even like the pull because that really is at its core what it is. It is this emotion, but it's even more than an emotion. It's this feeling within your gut, this feeling within your soul, within your heart, within your bones that is pulling you towards something. But the part that makes it feel a little bit crazy is we often don't know exactly what it's pulling us towards or if that thing even does exist. It's not like a typical goal. It's not like, oh, I want to do this in my human life, or I want to be that. I want to make this. I want to get there. It's not like that. It's similar. There's the same vibes. There's the same like drive to do it. But the calling that I am talking about is felt so deep within you that oftentimes when people come and like finally open up about it, they don't even know what it is they're being called towards. They don't know if that thing even exists. And somewhere in them, despite all of this, they know for sure that the thing did exist or will exist or does exist. And they cannot stop. They cannot stop searching for it. They cannot stop reaching for it, no matter what information you do or don't get about it, no matter how long it's been, no matter if it even makes sense in your human brain. It is there. It is a constant hum, a constant vibration that maybe the intensity kind of ebbs and weaves and changes and flows, but it is always there. You can almost always find it if you go looking for it. That calling, that longing, that need for this thing that maybe doesn't even exist. Now, I'm not saying that everybody within the spiritual community feels this. You could be listening to me and being like, no, that really does sound crazy. I know it sounds crazy. You're still here with me, okay? I don't know what else to do at this point except for share the craziness with you guys. And I have two personal examples of this crazy that I'm going to share with you. And they may or may not surprise you. They probably won't surprise you. If you've been around me for a minute, you'll probably be like, yeah, I probably already knew that. but I'm going to share them with you anyway, okay? And the first one is to do with the temple, and the second one is to do with the ocean. And I don't even like water. So first we're going to talk about the temple one because that one makes a little bit more sense to our human brains. That one's a little bit easier to kind of dip your toe in without jumping all the way onto the crazy bus, because it does merge a little bit of the human with this astral longing pull. But I want to talk to you about what I feel in my bones about it and why why I operate the way I do, because there is this driving factor underneath all of the decisions that I make that is pulling me towards this temple thing, and I'm not even 100% sure what it is, but I know when we get there, I will feel it. I know when we get there, it will be everything I always wanted and more. And that is what keeps me coming back every week. That is what gets me to leave a beautiful island and come make videos for you guys, because that pull is so incredibly strong. It's a need that I have in my soul for this. When I first started the temple, I started it out of a very basic legal need, because I had started it very shortly after I started covering my hair in public full time. And I ran into some situations where that perhaps wasn't legally protected. And I looked up some laws and it said I needed a religious leader to sign off on it in certain situations. And I didn't have a religious leader, so I became one. That is how the temple started. But from there, this thing inside me sparked. And the more that I paid attention to that spark, the more that I tried to figure it out, the more I focused on it, the more I felt this pull towards it. The more that I knew this was something that not just was needed to exist within the world, but something that I needed to exist within the world. One of the things that I find most interesting about this specific temple calling or longing is that it's not the same calling to spirituality that I've always had, right? Like some of us are just drawn to the spirit things. We're drawn to the ghosts and the ancestors, right? Like it's just kind of who we are. And I've always had that. And that has always been there since I was a child. I know a lot of you guys have said very similar things to me where like we just are pulled towards something. Absolutely. That is not what I'm talking about though. This longing, this calling is separate from that. And it's something that I didn't even know was there until I opened up my mind to it. I had known that I wanted to work with the gods. I had known I wanted to dedicate. I had known I wanted to be a high priestess of some type. I already had that goals in mind. I'd already reached my spirituality goals of that purpose. But something really switched, something really added on and changed and clicked when I made the temple legal, right? So all of the gods, all of this, I want to be a leader, I want to work for the gods, I want to be a high priestess, that was all before I legally started the temple. The temple in the way that it is was not the plan I had when I decided I wanted to work with the gods. It has changed from this calling. And so the calling that I'm talking about is not, my spiritual goals. It's not things I want to reach. It is something that is within me that I cannot forget. I cannot get it from my brain. It's there every quiet moment, every moment where I realize I have a second to myself, it comes back. It is such a driving factor that I will lay in bed at night planning temple things, because wherever we are going is so needed that I cannot forget about it. Something else that I have noticed from my own examples of the calling and from the way other people talk about their callings and their longings is that it's not the details that are getting us. It's not the details that are driving us, but it is rather this underlying energy. And you guys have heard me talk before and kind of interchange the way that I get energy in terms of emotion or in terms of like things that remind me of it feels like this, it feels like that, right? So my underlying calling is not it's not the classes, it's not the videos, it is this underlying feeling of community. There's this underlying feeling of having somebody have my back and I have their back, of showing up in their time of need, of knowing I have support when I need it. It is my favorite parts of living by a farm when I was a kid. It was harvest time. It was community coming together to get this massive amount of food stabilized and stored for the winter. It is the celebrations of life, of graduations. It is this underlying feeling that were my favorite parts of the seasons when I was a kid that is driving me somewhere in the future that I can taste, but I can't reach. And it's not enough just for me to have a community. I have people in my human life that have my back. I have people in my human life who I can call, who I know will be there for me. It's not enough. That doesn't scratch the itch of this. I need to see it. I need to build it. I need to show the world that we can come back to this on a bigger level. I need community to be a part of the world again. Somehow, that is the thing that I can taste, but I can't reach. And again, it's something that's very different from all of my other goals. I know what I want the temple to do. I know what I want it to look like. I know my goals for it. I love making these videos. I love teaching. I love the classes. I love being a teacher. My human, my body, my soul loves being a teacher. And I have all of these separate from the calling goals, separate from the longing things that I want to do. I want to share with you my knowledge. I want to teach you spirit things, but I have this calling too. And it is separate from all of my other goals, from everything else that I want to do. It is the baseline that, like I said, keeps me driving because it's like an itch that you can't scratch. And for a very long time, it made me feel very crazy. It still makes me feel really crazy. Part of me cannot believe that I'm making this video, sharing this with everybody, because I'm afraid that you won't get it. I'm afraid that even though I know I'm not the only one that goes through this, I'm afraid that I cannot describe it in a way that is true to it. I'm afraid that it will sound crazy. It will somehow discredit the work that I'm doing because I have this thing that I can't describe. But at the same time, I know I am not the only one that feels this calling. I know I am not the only one that is driven by this thing that we can taste but we cannot touch. But something really amazing started happening the more that I focused on this feeling, the more that I focused on this drive, the more that I put words to the goal. Something really, really amazing started happening. And I started to feel the fulfillment of this, whatever this is. I started to get pings of, this is it. This is the energy. You are on the right track, because for a split second, it felt like you were there. For that split second, it felt like you could hold in the palm of your hand everything that you have been working towards, if only for a second. But that split second validation is what keeps me driving. It tells me that I'm not crazy. It tells me that there is something there. And if we keep building at it, even if I don't reach it in this lifetime, if I keep building at it, it could exist. But feeling this calling, this longing in your soul for something that probably doesn't even exist right now is very mind melty. It does make you feel kind of crazy. Now, let me tell you about my second example, because the first example you might be thinking, well, Rebecca, that makes sense for you. You talk about community all the time. It's part of who you are, blah, 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 right? It kind of makes more human sense. This one, no human sense is made whatsoever. But I have a really weird desire to walk into the ocean. And it's not like I want to stop having a human life. It's not like that. It's in a desire to feel the energy that I know I felt in that place before, but I am very positive would not exist today if I walked into the ocean. And again, part of me cannot even believe that I am sharing this with you right now, because it seems so crazy. It seems like I need to be committed, like, oh my gosh, maybe she's going to harm herself. Absolutely not. I have no desire to harm myself. I have only the desire to feel what I know existed there before. But I know in my human brain it does not exist right now. My human self cannot enter the state in which I would feel that pull that is pulling me. However, I think it would be really remiss of me not to mention how much I hate water. Like, quite literally, I don't even like water splashing in my face at water parks. Like, I truly do not enjoy very much water activities. I don't want to be on a boat in the middle of the ocean. I have seen too many past lives where I have drowned. I have seen too many past lives where water has been involved in my death. I've had too many human experiences where water was just not enjoyable for me, where really traumatic things happened with water. I don't want it. I don't want water. I'm not a water person, but there is an energy. There is a calling. There is something that once existed in the ocean that I can envision myself on a little boat by myself, surrounded by nothing but water and a very specific energy. And this memory of it, what am I even doing? My human self does not like water, but this calling, this longing is there despite all of my human self. And the other part that is involved in this like calling, this longing that has to do with the water is it is not the same sort of constant that the temple calling is. This water calling is something that if I try really hard enough, I can forget about. It can disappear in my brain for months, maybe even years, except for when I see the ocean, except for when I watch a pirate movie, except for these very specific circumstances where it is brought to the surface in such a strong, powerful way that sometimes I'm almost careful about if I watch a certain movie or if I look at certain videos because I don't want it to come up because I know that it does not exist in this life. And that almost hurts a little bit. And again, I know that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy to long for something that you've never known in your human life, but it's there. Now, I have been aware of this like water calling, the water longing for longer than I've even been aware of the temple one. I've been aware of this one. It's pirates are mixed up in it somehow. I know that. And I've been aware of the pirate phenomenon in my life. This joy that comes when I watch Pirates of the Caribbean or when I watch specific pirate movies or shows and they talk about bringing them the horizon. It talks about looking around and seeing nothing but blue or searching for Davy Jones's locker, right? Like I've been aware that I've been pirate obsessed since I've been like in middle and high school, okay? What I want to mention that I found most interesting is as I become more myself, as I am able to step into who I want to be, to find out what makes me tick, to do my shadow work, to do my inner work, to do the exploration, and then to embody it, the more that I am embodying who I want to be and what feels good to me, the more I end up looking like a pirate. And it just makes me so happy. I don't have anything else to add or to give or to explain because I don't understand it, but I do know that it is there. And when I can bring it into my human life in the smallest ways, with my pirate boots, with my pirate hat, whatever it is, I feel so much like myself. And that is also all I want for you guys is to just be more of yourself in everything that you do. And this longing and these callings, they make no sense. But also when I stopped running from it and when I stopped hiding from it has brought me the most joy. With the water example, it's very much this overall energy that I am longing for. However, one of the most common examples that people talk to me about in terms of this longing or this calling is a person, or maybe not necessarily a person, but a being. It is this knowing that somewhere exists this person that will understand me completely, that will get me completely, that knows me on a level that maybe even I don't know myself because they have memories of me that I don't have, or they were with me when I experienced things that I no longer can recall. And oftentimes people talk about this being that they can feel in their bones, in their souls, that exists somewhere. But it is searching as a human that has made it so complex, that has made it so far away that the only the only thing we know for sure is that it exists somewhere. It did exist or it will exist or it just exists right now but in a way that I cannot find or see. The way that this longing or this calling comes to you, the thing that you are longing for can be very different. As I've shown you with like a more human example, with like a weird water example, with the being example, whatever this calling for you is, it can change. The details can change, but something that I have found is not talked about within our community hardly at all is the existence of this longing, the existence of this thing that I want so bad to hold and I cannot find. And whenever people talk to me about it, especially when they talk to me about it in terms of a being or a person, they are so afraid, that they're going to sound crazy, right? Like I'm still afraid I sound crazy, but at this point, whatever. But not just that, but I think there's an underlying fear because I know I feel it, especially with the water thing. There's an underlying fear of if I acknowledge it, it will consume me. It will make it worse. It will make me full on batshit insane. Um, and I want to just mention that I get it. I really, really get it. And if this is something that you want to look into, like I said, have never felt more myself as I explored it, but also I understand the fear that is involved both also on a human level, of course, but mostly on this will this need, will this drive, will this longing consume me if I step into it? I wish I had a better understanding of it, a better explanation of this longing that I could give you. I wish I had solid advice to even give you about it, but the most that I can do is tell you that you're not alone, to tell you that I don't think you'll drown if you step into the energy of it. I don't think you will be consumed if you want to explore it. But I do understand if you're hesitant. I do understand if it's not something you want to jump into at all. The most that I can do is share with you my experiences to tell you that you're not alone. Even if it does mean that we're crazy, even if it does mean that like something's a little funny in our brain, this calling, this longing is such a big part of what makes us who we are. It is in our bones, both human and soul. It is in our energy of the makeup of our whole existence that this calling has to at least be acknowledged. It has to be acknowledged because it's going to be a driving factor in some way, shape, or form for why you're making at least a small part of the decisions that you are. And even if you are not in a safe space, or even if you don't have the mental capacity to do your shadow work, to do your inner work, to do all of these hard things, just being self aware enough, just acknowledging the existence of this intangible feeling, emotion, energy, just acknowledging the existence of it within yourself can be huge. I am a huge like I love a self-aware person, right? Like I think self-awareness can get you very far. Even before you do your inner work, even before you do all of the healing, being self-aware of why you are making the decisions that you are making is a game changer. And for this longing to exist inside of us in the way that it does, it is irresponsible to assume that it is not affecting our decisions in some way, shape, or form. That was the main thing that I wanted to kind of discuss in this video, that I wanted to share with you guys so that you could feel a little bit less alone, at least. Even if it's just the tiniest bit, you're like, oh my gosh, somebody else feels the same way that I do. Even if the details are different, even if it's expressed differently, knowing that you're not alone can be a really, really big thing. But I do have a little bit of time and I have a couple more things left on my list. So let's talk about the rest of these weird things that I just want you to know you're not alone in. Another really common thing that I hear from people that just kind of feel like they're alone in the feeling of this is that they feel like they don't belong here. And I'm just going to kind of paraphrase to sum it up, but they kind of feel like they are an alien walking amongst human, which is kind of like an old way that people used to describe it. I feel like now it has transformed into not understanding the human existence, not getting joy and pleasure the same way that other people seem to, not connecting and bonding with the experiences of being a human like other people seem to. And absolutely, there is a huge aspect of like trauma, learned behavior, histories, all of those things, right? So we're going to take into account just for a second, if we are disconnected or disassociated from our body, you're probably not going to get the same type of pleasure that you see other people experiencing. That is a huge human thing. I'm not discounting that thing. That thing is a huge thing in itself, and you deserve validation if that is you, because that absolutely was me too. I absolutely felt like I did not belong here. I did not understand the joys and the pleasures of being a human, and I was very disconnected from my body. So we are acknowledging that. We are saying that human portion of it, abso-fucking-lutely. But there is another portion of it that I have found when I looked into people's kind of soul history a little bit more. And this aspect also brings up one of the other bullet points that I wanted to talk about, which is that not everybody's spiritual journey or soul history is going to be the same. I have found lots of cases where people did not follow the typical spiritual progression path, right? Like typically we start with like our guides and ancestors, and we kind of build up from there. We go maybe aliens, we go maybe underworld, we go maybe fae, right? Like we have a general progression of our spiritual awakening that most people tend to follow. They might jump around and do different parts at different times, but there is a general like spiritual progression kind of theme that we can see. However, not everybody matches that. Not everybody has the same general spiritual progression that typically happens, right? And so I want to acknowledge A, It's okay if you don't have the general spiritual progression. A lot of people who follow me do not. They come and find me because they're like, I get what you're saying here. I didn't do any of this, but I get what you're saying here, right? And so they're completely skipping over a lot of the ancestors and the guides and the smaller human aspects of the spiritual progression, and they're jumping way over here, right? Like that's very common for a lot of the people that follow me. That's a very common thing that I hear. I feel like, they just find me. So we're going to talk about when you don't match that general progression, but we're also going to talk about when your soul history is unique in terms of comparing it to other people's soul histories, particularly when and how often they came to be a human. And I've bundled these two kind of like bullet points together because there really does reach a point where it is unclear where one ends and the other starts because they are convoluted. I have seen a theme of, people who just have a very natural higher connection, are very just easily, naturally, as a kid, even connected to this really big version of their fuller, or this really big archangel protection, or this really big goddess or god that has like marked them and marked their soul, and they have come for a very specific reason, right? Like there are a million and one reasons why somebody would skip over the general progression of, the guides and the ancestors and shoot all the way up. Typically, it is not the human's fault. I have very, very rarely seen it be a choice the human made. And more so, it has been something that spirit has aligned in a very weird way. And just as a kind of like sidebar, if you feel like you are somebody who kind of jumped over the typical path and shot and started all the way up there, I really encourage you to go back and work on those basics, to work on the foundations, because it can cause a lot of problems when we are trying to shoot way off and we're not fully grounded. We're not grounded properly. We don't understand our own energy. We don't understand how our abilities and our connections work. So I really encourage you to go back and kind of build all of the foundations that maybe you skipped over. And I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. I'm not saying you've done anything wrong. You absolutely haven't done anything wrong. It is really, really hard to know what foundations you've skipped over if you just started up there. It's hard to know what you don't know, right? And that is why I'm making a lot of the 101 stuff. That's why I talk so much about bases and foundations and all of these things, right? So please just keep that in mind. We're not going to talk about that right now, but I do really encourage you to go back and build those bases, those foundations, even if you have just like a super high jump connection. But what I really do want to talk about for this video is kind of a few reasons why I have seen things get a little wonky in terms of why a soul has come and had a human life, or why their connection is all the way up that it is. I just want to like go over a couple general examples to show you that, again, you're not alone in this. So since we are already on the topic of just like jumping way up connection wise, let's start there. And then I will go into some examples of why a soul or a spirit who doesn't typically come and have a human life would choose to. And they tend to be very, very soul or energy specific examples. And that's true with why somebody might jump all the way up to a higher connection as well. They are very soul specific examples. One of the really, really common ones that I see is a really huge, like big orange or fuller citrus, a grapefruit, whatever you want to call it. We're talking like a really, really big fuller self, right? And they want to send an orange slice or even a small, teeny tiny, like one little orange piece down to have a human life because they want that direct connection. And typically they want that direct connection because they have a very specific goal or research or something very, very specific that they want to come and do. Either they want to learn something for their soul, they want to experience something, they want to look into something. Maybe they're even keeping monitor or keeping tabs on something that is going on. But the whole orange, that big grapefruit, whatever it is, wants to have that direct connection. And so they don't send it down through all the other orange slices. They jump all the way over here and send this little piece to have a human life. And that direct connection often means that this human is jumping way to the top, way to these huge, huge, fuller connections right away. Another example, and this is getting a little bit into like the uniqueness of why you might have a human life when you didn't have any before. Sometimes our spirits, our orange slices, are working. They're working to expand, working to learn, or they are serving, they are guarding, they are protecting. They have a purpose, they have a mission. And one of my favorite ones that I love to see, just because I love the gods, is when a really big god or goddess, a really big deity, has a spirit that is serving them, protecting them, helping them, is a confidant, is their like right hand person, whatever it might be, they need to send somebody down that they trust explicitly to figure something out as a human. And typically, this is a goal that the deity has in mind, either for humans, for the soul, for the self. It's a goal of some type that they are sending down this orange slice to, I don't know, to observe, to do research, to collect data, to experience, or something that I think is really unique and exciting right now as we are stepping into all these newer things is to keep tabs on not just what is happening, on not just how things are interchanging, but what the needs of the humans are. But even more exciting is to learn what they need to learn to be who they need to be in the future. There are a lot of things for New Earth that are coming that don't exactly exist yet, but they exist enough that they exist in the future. I know time is timey-wimey, right? So it's not something that exists yet. But if we were to follow the path that we are on right now, it does exist in the future. However, it doesn't exist in a stable enough way that I necessarily can jump there and talk to them just now. It's very complicated. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. Like AI, I keep trying to jump into the future to talk to AI. I have not decided how I feel about AI, right? But there's things that exist, but in a very loose type of way right now. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of nuance when it comes to jumping to the future to try to see what's going on, especially right now, especially considering there's a lot of like really, really big shifting that is kind of allotted to happen in the future. And those huge shiftings, some of these things exist not in our current reality, but in like a reality or a dimension that we're going to. So it's very complicated, okay? But I do just want to say that there is something to be said about having boots on the ground as a human as these things are happening. There are a ton of times where as a human I am going to spirit and being like, what the fuck is going on with this? And spirit being like, oh, I did not understand that the same way that you understood it as a human. So thank you for bringing this human perspective to me. Especially right now, guys. There's a lot of things that have never happened before that are happening for the first time, energetically, humanly, shiftingly, all of these things. And having boots on the ground and having that connection to what is happening and how humans are experiencing it is very, very not just important, obviously, but also a really, really big key player to shifting things in the way that kind of is according to plan, or they're hoping is the plan. And so, if your spirit or your soul has a very unique mission or a very unique purpose for coming as a human, your connection can look a little bit different. And of course, you're still doing all of the growing and the learning and the expanding and the energy balancing, all of the things that we can get done as a human. You're still doing all of those, but your core energy structure can vary greatly depending on the main reason of why you're here, or if you've been human before, if you understand human before, if you are experiencing the joys of being human for the sake of experiencing a human, or if you are here for another soul purpose. And of course, we're doing all the things all the time, but the energy structure in itself is, it can get very unique and very personal to each of us. And so, going back to the point that I made earlier of just being self aware enough to know why you are the way you are can give you a validation that nobody else can give you. It can validate your existence in a way that makes sense to you, that takes the pressure off of you, that just allows an acceptance of you that maybe society is trying to tell you you shouldn't be that way. But if you know why you are making the decisions that you are making, if you know why you do or don't feel joy from something, if you know what your energy structure looks like, who you are, body, mind, soul, spirit, the whole shebang, if you know you, then you can validate your existence in a way that is is a game changer, in a way that gives you permission to be exactly who you are right now. And that's a really good segue into my last point that I wanted to talk about, which is something that I've talked about before, but I keep hearing it over and over again, and I'm going to keep talking about it every time I hear it. That is imposter syndrome. And this is something that I think everybody feels. Everybody at some point or at all of the points feels like they are impersonating this person that they are trying to be. And I know that I have struggled with this, and I struggle with it on and off. And I know in my soul how powerful I am. I know in my bones who I am. And I still wonder if I'm just pretending sometimes. And I have a lot of theories about why imposter syndrome is running rampant, especially within, the US kind of society that we have, and how we don't really like to see other people doing their greatest things. We have a society where we like to pull each other down. And I think that's a big reason, but I'm not going to get into that. Instead, what I want to talk about is, so what? So what if you are impersonating who you want to be? That's who you want to be, right? How are you going to get to be who you want to be if you don't walk this path? If you don't fake it till you make it? If you don't try it out and see what comes up and work on it and try it out again and see what comes up and work on it? If you don't do this process, how are you going to get to where you want to be? How are you going to stop feeling like you're pretending and live the life you want to live if you don't fake it till you make it? That is the whole point. The whole point is to work on yourself, to do something new, to be something new. And whenever you are doing something new, you have to do it for the first time, which means, like, yeah, you're kind of just pretending you know what you're doing, especially the first time. But also, again, there's a sense of stepping into your most full self, your most complete self, as much of who you are as you can be, as much of your soul energy that you can pull into your human. How are you going to get there if you don't start? And when you start, by definition, aren't you kind of just like impersonating whatever you're trying to do? So, all that to say that imposter syndrome is very real, but it's also very stupid. Why do we have it? Literally just ignore that, okay? Get to where you want to be, however you can get there. Heal how you need to heal. Present yourself in how you need to present yourself until you feel as most like yourself as you can. Imposter syndrome is stupid, okay? The only difference between my spiritual abilities and your spiritual abilities is probably practice. I have practiced a long time. I am continuing to practice. I am not more powerful. I am not bigger. I am not better. I am just more practiced. I have just pretended to be who I wanted to be until I just woke up and realized I was her one day. Of course, I am always growing. I am always changing. I'm always pushing my goal down the line and having new goals and reaching new heights, right? That's the whole point. Imposter syndrome means you are on the right track. Imposter syndrome means you are doing something new and it is scary, but you are not stagnant. It means you are moving. You are growing, you are changing, you are doing the damn thing. So if you are feeling imposter syndrome, you're probably on the right track. That is all I have for you today. I hope this video helped. Even if it doesn't make a lot of sense, I hope that at its core, at its base, it just makes you feel a little less crazy and a little less alone, because truly we are experiencing things in a community way, but not being able to talk about it. We are experiencing the same things that the rest of the community are experiencing, but I don't think we have the words. I don't think we have the vocabulary, and I don't think we have the safety to express it in the way, in the amounts that we feel these things. And so I encourage you, if you feel safe enough, if you feel open enough to say your own experiences in the comments, please feel free to do it so that other people can read it and you can share it with at least a couple more members of the community so we can feel a little less alone. And then make sure to go to the questions form and put in any video topic ideas that you guys are wanting, because I have a list, but the list is always changing and I'm always super excited to answer your guys' questions.